The elevator doors slid shut with a groan, trapping the scent of bleach, dust, and something faintly citrus. Ava was soaked, freezing, and furious. Her heels clicked against the tile as she hit the button for the top floor, twice, like pressing harder would somehow fix everything. But nothing could fix that today had gone to hell before breakfast. Her assistant had called in sick. Her meeting with the board had been rescheduled without telling her. And then, her car had broken down in the rain. Not that it mattered. She had one goal tonight: get to the top floor, collect the hard drive she left in her office, and disappear before anyone saw the CEO of Hollis Corp drenched like a lost cat. The elevator jolted, then froze. The lights flickered. Ava's stomach dropped. No. No. This couldn't be happening. Are you kidding me? She muttered. She stabbed the emergency button. Nothing. The speaker above crackled to life with a strained voice. Yeah. Looks like a power blip. Just sit tight. We've got someone on it. She groaned, leaning back against the cold mirror. She had a dinner reservation in an hour. Not that she cared about the food. She had a proposal to deliver, and it wasn't going to write itself. She glanced at the time. 6:38 p.m. Perfect, she muttered. A clang echoed above. Then came the faint sound of footsteps. Someone was on top of the elevator. Hey! Ava shouted. Is someone there? Don't panic, a woman's voice replied, muffled but calm. I'm here to get you out. Who are you? Janitor, the voice said. You okay in there? Do I sound okay? You sound pissed, the woman replied dryly. A pause. Hey, if you're enjoying this story, go ahead and drop a like to help us grow even more. And let me know in the comments, on a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story so far? Your feedback makes all the difference. Then a soft laugh. It's kinda hot. Ava blinked. Excuse me? Nothing, the janitor said quickly. More sounds. A tool clinking. A hiss of wires. You've got 5 minutes of patience in you? Ava swallowed. The voice, it was deep, smooth, with an accent she couldn't place. Confident. Disarming. Fine. 5 minutes. A beat passed. What's your name? Ray. You work here? Technically. Night shift. I fix things. Clean what rich people break. Ava rolled her eyes. Charming. And you? Ray asked. What do you do? Ava hesitated. She didn't want to explain herself. Not now. Office drone, she lied. Late hours. Figures. You sound tired. That hit harder than expected. Ava looked at her reflection in the elevator mirror. Mascara smeared. Hair wet. Jaw clenched. I'm fine. Sure. A soft hum. Then a crack. A panel on the elevator ceiling slid open, and a hand reached down, strong, gloved, steady. I've got you. Ava hesitated. Took the hand. Ray's grip was warm, sure. She pulled Ava up like it was nothing, lifting her through the hatch into the narrow, dark space above. For a moment, their faces were inches apart. Ray's eyes were dark, serious, searching. Her face was smudged with grease, and her dark hair was tucked beneath a cap. She wasn't what Ava expected. Too young, too sharp, too magnetic. You're heavier than you look, Ray teased. Ava narrowed her eyes. You're ruder than I expected. Flirting's not a crime. Ray grinned, then nodded toward the hatch leading to the service stairwell. Come on. I'll get you out of here. They climbed through a maze of dim corridors and metal ladders until they finally emerged in a service hall on the 34th floor. Ray pushed open a heavy door, and suddenly, Ava was in the corridor that led to her own office. Here. Ray handed her a towel. Where had she even gotten it? Dry off. Thanks, Ava muttered, taking it. Ray tilted her head. You don't seem like an office drone. You don't seem like just a janitor. Ava shot back. Touché. They stood there, silence stretching between them like a taut wire. Ava didn't know why she said what she said next. Maybe it was the way Ray looked at her. Like, she wasn't just another suit. Maybe it was the fact that Ray had gotten her out, no questions asked. Or maybe Ava was just tired of pretending. If we meet again, Ava said, I'll marry you. Ray blinked, then smiled. Bold. I mean it. Ray took a slow step backward, eyes never leaving hers. Then I'll see you around, office drone. Ava watched her disappear into the stairwell, towel in hand, her heart thudding with something dangerously close to longing. What she didn't know, what she could know, was that Ray wasn't a janitor. Ray was the majority shareholder of Hollis Corporation, the real power behind the company. And she'd just met the CEO without either of them knowing the truth. The week passed in a blur of deadlines, hollow meetings, and sleepless nights. Ava buried herself in work, as always. That night in the elevator became a memory she couldn't categorize, a glitch in the matrix, a fever dream soaked in rain and flotation.
Ray.
The name echoed in the back of her mind like a song she couldn't shake. She had Googled her once. Nothing. No employee file, no maintenance crew listing, no trace of her in the company records. Ava wasn't used to not knowing things. It annoyed her. She was even more annoyed by how often her mind wandered back to that smirk, that voice, that hand pulling her up into the dark. A fantasy. Nothing more. Until Wednesday. She was in the lobby, headed toward the cafe in a rare moment of indulgence, when a woman brushed past her. Black baseball cap. Same walk. Same posture. Ava froze. But the woman didn't look back. She disappeared through the security doors like a ghost. Ava's chest tightened. It wasn't Ray.
Couldn't be.
Ray had said she worked nights. Still, she caught herself watching the stairwell every evening, foolishly hopeful. But Ray didn't come back. Not until Friday. Ava was in the boardroom when she heard her name. There's someone asking for you downstairs, her assistant whispered. She says she's a contractor? Ava didn't blink. Send her away. She said your exact words were, and I quote, "If we meet again, I will marry you." The pen dropped from Ava's hand. Her heart stuttered. She's here? Wants 5 minutes. Says she'll fix your coffee machine for free. The board members watched her, puzzled. Ava stood. Meeting adjourned. She found Ray in the executive break room, leaning casually against the marble counter like she belonged there. No uniform. No cap. Black button-down, sleeves rolled, tattoo barely visible on one forearm. That same look in her eyes. Bold, amused, unreadable. Told you I'd see you around, Ray said, holding up a screwdriver. Your espresso machine's been making a weird sound. Figured I'd help. Ava crossed her arms, masking the pulse in her throat. You don't work here. Did I ever say I did? Ray countered. You said you were a janitor. I said I was fixing things, which I did. Ava exhaled slowly. What do you want? Ray tilted her head. Maybe I wanted to see if you meant it.
What?
The marriage offer. Ava blinked. That was sarcasm. Ray shrugged.
Still.
A girl can dream. Their eyes locked. For a moment, Ava forgot the room, forgot her title, forgot the weight of her carefully constructed world. Ray wasn't afraid of her. Ray was dangerous. In all the right ways. You have 5 minutes, Ava said quietly. Ray smiled. That's all I need. They walked. Down the service hall, past the elevator where it all began. Ray's hand brushed hers on purpose. Ava didn't pull away. You never told me what you actually do, Ava said. Ray looked up at the ceiling, as if thinking. I buy things. Fix companies. Break a few.
Invest.
Travel. Sometimes I pretend to be a janitor to meet interesting women. You're lying. Am I? Ray grinned. You Googled me, didn't you? Ava looked away. Ray stepped in front of her. I'm not asking for a date. I'm asking for coffee. No suits. No boardrooms. Just you. Ava stared at her. She wanted to say no. She should say no. But instead, she whispered. Tonight. Ray raised an eyebrow. Pick you up at 7? I'll text you the place. I'll guess. You won't. Ray leaned in, voice low. Try me. She was gone before Ava could reply. Just disappeared into the building like a mirage. Ava stood there, heart racing. What the hell was she doing? That night, Ava sat alone in a quiet wine bar downtown. She didn't send an address, didn't text, just waited, half believing Ray wouldn't show. But at 7:02 p.m., Ray slid into the seat across from her, eyes gleaming. Told you I'd find you. Ava didn't smile.
Not yet.
How did you know I'd be here? Because this place smells like you. That's the worst line I've ever heard. Ray leaned in, elbows on the table. Is it working? Ava's lips parted, the ghost of a smile tugging at the corner. Unfortunately, they talked for hours. About nothing. About everything. Ray never asked what Ava did. Never asked about the company. Never treated her like anything other than a woman drinking Merlot with chipped nails and a cynical smile. It felt terrifying. It felt real. By the end of the night, Ray walked her to her car. Neither moved. The silence swelled between them, full of charged possibility. So, Ray murmured, still planning to marry me if we meet again? Ava's breath caught. Maybe. Ray leaned in, brushing a strand of wet hair from Ava's face. Then let's make sure we keep meeting. Ava didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, every nerve still thrumming with the echo of Ray's voice, her laugh, the warmth of her hand brushing Ava's as they left the bar. It wasn't a date. She didn't do dates. Not with strangers. Not with women who showed up uninvited and slipped past security like shadows. But Ray wasn't a stranger anymore. She was something else, something Ava didn't have a name for yet. And that was the problem. The next morning, Ava snapped at 2 board members, ignored 3 calls from the COO, and stared too long at the elevator every time it opened. She felt unmoored, untethered, like someone had cracked open the world and let a little light in where it didn't belong. And yet, when Ray texted her that afternoon, "Want to break the rules tonight?" Ava replied before she could stop herself. Where and when? Ray's reply came instantly. Anywhere. Midnight. Ava hesitated. Midnight meant risk.
Her time.
Her control. Her rules. And Ray wanted to pull her out of all of it.
Good.
Let her try. The rooftop of Hollis Tower wasn't on any employee's access list. It was technically off-limits, under renovation, and completely deserted after dark. But when Ava stepped through the maintenance door at 11:59 p.m., Ray was already there, leaning against the railing, city lights casting gold into her eyes, wind tossing her hair like something from a film Ava would have called pretentious if she weren't living it. "You're late," Ray said without looking. "I'm exactly on time." Typical CEO. Typical liar, Ava shot back. Ray turned to face her, slow and deliberate. "You didn't have to come." Ava stepped closer, pulse hammering. "You make it really hard not to." "Do I?" Ray's voice was quiet now. She tilted her head, studying Ava like she was art, valuable, rare, maybe just a little dangerous to touch. "Why me?" Ray asked. "You could have anyone." "No, I couldn't," Ava replied. "People don't see me. They see the position, the power,
the myth.
You didn't flinch when I snapped at you. You didn't ask what I do. You didn't care." "I care," Ray said. "I just don't want to give you the power to run." Ava blinked. Ray stepped forward, their bodies inches apart. "You're terrified of being wanted for who you are, not what you own." "No," Ava whispered. "I'm terrified that no one knows who I am at all." Ray's hand brushed hers, fingertips grazing like a question. Ava didn't pull away.
Couldn't.
"What if I want to know?" Ray asked. "What if I already do?" Ava looked away, but Ray gently took her chin, turning her face back. Her thumb stroked Ava's jaw, and Ava leaned into it before she could stop herself. Her walls were crumbling, and she was letting them fall. "You shouldn't get close to me," Ava said. "Try me." Ava reached for her, and Ray met her halfway. The kiss was slow, intense, searing. Ava tasted rain and fire, heard the blood rushing in her ears louder than the wind above the city. Ray kissed her like she already knew her secrets and didn't care. Like she saw the woman behind the title and wanted that woman more. When they finally pulled apart, Ava was breathless, eyes wide. "That's dangerous," she murmured. Ray smiled. "So are you." They sat on the edge of the rooftop, Ray's shoulder brushing hers, legs swinging into the dark. Ava told her things she'd never admitted out loud. About her mother's death. The boardroom wars. The way success had made her lonely instead of proud. Ray listened like no one ever had, without interrupting, without fixing, without fear. "No one looks at me like that," Ava said quietly. "Like what?" Ray asked. "Like I'm not broken." Ray was silent for a beat. Then, softly, "You're not broken. You're just tired of pretending you're not." Ava exhaled slowly, heart exposed and raw. And in that moment, she realized she didn't want to let Ray go.
Not now.
Not ever. The next morning, Ava sat in her corner office with the skyline burning behind her and 1,000 unread emails stacked in cold, red numbers.
But none of it mattered.
Not the investors, not the quarterly projections, not the new intern who kept calling her ma'am, like she was made of glass. The only thing that echoed in her mind was Ray's voice, soft in the dark, saying, "You're not broken. You're just tired of pretending you're not." Ava had never let anyone touch her like that. Not just the kiss, but the way Ray reached into her without tearing her apart. It was terrifying. Addictive. So when her phone buzzed at 10:47 a.m. with a message from a number she hadn't saved but already knew by heart, her breath caught. "Ari, I want to see you."
No rooftop this time.
"Somewhere real. Tonight." Ava stared at the message. Somewhere real. She didn't do real. She did safe. Controlled. But she typed back anyway. "AVA. Send the address." "I'll come, at exactly 8 p.m. She stood in front of a tiny restaurant tucked between two laundromats on a side street she hadn't walked since college. No valet. No wine list. No white tablecloths. Ray was already inside, sitting in a booth, 2 beers and a basket of fries between them. She looked up and smiled like Ava had just saved her life. "You came. Don't act surprised." "I'm not. I'm impressed." Ava slid into the booth, still in her blazer, her heels feeling embarrassingly out of place on the sticky floor. Ray handed her a beer. "You ever been on a date that didn't require a reservation?" "Is that what this is? A date?" Ray tilted her head. "What would you call it?" Ava hesitated. "A mistake." "Then I hope you keep making it." They ate.
Talked. Laughed.
Ray made her feel like herself. No mask, no performance. Just Ava, the woman under the armor.
She even laughed.
Not the polite kind she gave to clients. A real one. The kind that felt like freedom. Ray leaned back, sipping her beer. "Tell me something true." "Why?" "Because you're always performing. I want the version you keep locked behind your eyes." Ava stared at her. She didn't do this. She didn't open doors people could walk through. But Ray was already inside anyway.
"Fine," she said.
"When I was 8, I wanted to be a pianist."
Not a CEO.
Not a leader. Just someone who made beautiful things and didn't have to talk to anyone. Ray blinked. "That's beautiful. Why didn't you?" "My father said music was a hobby, not a future." "And you listened to him?" Ava smirked bitterly. "When you're a kid, you listen to the voice that pays the bills." "And now I'm the voice that pays the bills. And you're miserable." "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." Ava looked down, fingers curled around the bottle label. "Your turn." "Something true." Ray didn't flinch. "I hate being touched when I'm angry. I vanish for days when I'm scared. And I always know when someone's lying to me." Ava glanced up sharply. "Am I lying to you?" Ray's gaze was unreadable.
No.
"But you're lying to yourself." They sat in silence, the air between them thick with all the things neither of them had the words to say yet. Then Ray reached out, her fingers brushing Ava's hand. "Come with me." "Where?" "Somewhere that doesn't belong to either of us." They ended up at a rundown jazz bar tucked inside a forgotten hotel lobby. The music was low, sultry. The room smelled like leather and time. Ray pulled Ava into a booth at the back where the lights were low and the sound wrapped around them like velvet. "This place is old," Ava whispered. "Like haunted." "That's why I like it. Ghosts don't ask questions." "You always talk in riddles?" "Only when I'm nervous." Ava smiled. You're nervous? Terrified. Of me? Of how badly I want to know you. They didn't kiss. Not that night. But the intimacy was worse somehow. Ray's hand on Ava's thigh, her eyes studying her like scripture. It wasn't physical. It was emotional stripping. And Ava let it happen. She let herself be unraveled, bit by bit, word by word, breath by breath. She told Ray about the panic attacks she hid behind closed doors, about the therapy she quit after 2 sessions because being vulnerable felt like weakness. Ray listened, not with pity, but with presence. Like she could hold Ava's broken pieces without trying to glue them back. Ava didn't remember falling asleep. But when she woke up hours later in Ray's arms, shoes kicked off, jacket draped over her shoulders, and Ray's fingers stroking her hair, she realized something that made her blood go cold. She didn't want Ray to be temporary. And that was terrifying, because Ava had never been someone's forever. And Ray felt like the kind of person you don't get to keep, you just get lucky enough to meet. Ava hadn't been touched in weeks, not like that. Not without expectation, not with reverence. And it stayed with her. The feeling of Ray's fingers drifting lazily through her hair, as if Ava's thoughts were something sacred. It was obscene how much she craved it again. But what scared her more was how natural it felt. How easily Ray had slipped into the spaces Ava had spent years barricading. Monday arrived like a slap. The building buzzed with tension. Someone leaked a rumor about a hostile acquisition, and Ava had to pretend not to know where it started. Because she did. She'd started it. A strategic misdirection to distract the board while she pulled strings behind the scenes. It was the kind of manipulation she'd built her empire on. But now, in the middle of it, all she could think about was Ray's voice whispering, "Tell me something true." And Ava couldn't stop asking herself the same. What was true anymore? That she didn't want to go home alone. That she hadn't smiled for real in years until Ray. That the woman who kissed her on the rooftop could undo her with a single look. At 7:13 p.m., Ray texted, "R.A. I'm outside." Ava didn't question it. Didn't even reply. She just grabbed her coat and walked out, heart banging against her ribs. Ray was waiting on the sidewalk, leaned against a black motorcycle like some kind of cinematic threat to Ava's carefully constructed world. "You ride?" Ray asked, holding out a helmet. "No," Ava said. "But I like watching you pretend I'm the kind of woman who would." "You are," Ray said simply. Ava took the helmet. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere no one calls you ma'am." They drove through the city, fast, reckless, Ray's body solid between her and the wind. Ava closed her eyes, leaned in, and let go. She didn't care where they were going. She just wanted to be wherever Ray was. They ended up in a converted warehouse-turned-art gallery, minimalist, dimly lit, filled with abstract canvases that looked like emotion had exploded onto the walls. Ray walked beside her, fingers brushing Ava's occasionally, not pushing, just close enough to burn. "I come here when I need to feel something," Ray said. "Does it work?" "Sometimes." Ava paused in front of a painting all in red. It was rage and longing and surrender, smeared in wide, violent strokes. "I feel like this," she whispered. Ray stepped behind her, voice low in her ear. "All the time?" Ava nodded. "And no one sees it." Ray didn't touch her, just stood there, her presence steady and quiet. "I do." Later, they ended up back at Ray's place for the first time, a loft that was somehow chaotic and warm, with old vinyl records scattered like memories and half-filled notebooks on every surface. "You live like a poet," Ava said. "I live like someone who's not afraid of mess," Ray corrected. "You don't strike me as messy. Only on the inside." They sat on the couch, music low, light spilling over their faces in gold. Ava studied Ray's profile, the scar on her jaw, the shadow in her eyes. "You're hiding something," she said. Ray didn't deny it. "So are you. Mine could destroy everything." Ray met her gaze. "Then maybe it's time to burn it down?" The silence between them shifted. Not empty, charged. Ava leaned in, and Ray met her halfway again. The kiss this time was different, hungrier, heavier, like they'd been holding it back too long. Ray pulled her into her lap, hands firm on Ava's hips, and Ava let herself be consumed. She didn't want slow. She wanted to feel something real enough to shake her apart. Ray gave her exactly that. And then, as they lay tangled in breath and skin and heat, Ava whispered something she hadn't meant to say. I want this. I want you. Ray didn't smile. Her voice was careful when she answered. You have no idea who I am, do you? Ava froze. What? Ray sat up, suddenly distant. Never mind. No, say it. It's nothing. Ava felt the shift like a storm gathering. She reached for Ray's hand. Why are you really here? Ray's jaw clenched. Because I didn't expect to fall for the woman trying to take over my company. Ava's blood went cold. What did you say? But Ray was already on her feet, grabbing her jacket, avoiding her eyes. Forget I said anything. Ray, I shouldn't have let it go this far. Ava stood, heart hammering. Who are you? Ray turned at the door, eyes suddenly tired. Someone who's about to become a problem for you. And then she was gone. Ava stood in Ray's apartment alone, heart splitting, mind racing. And for the first time in years, she was afraid, not of losing control, but of losing someone who made her want it. Ava didn't leave Ray's apartment for almost an hour. She sat motionless on the edge of the couch, her blouse still half-buttoned, the taste of Ray still on her lips, and her mind spinning like a machine that had suddenly been turned inside out. The woman trying to take over my company. Ray's words looped over and over in her head, sharper than any boardroom betrayal. Ava was used to liars, manipulators, opportunists, but Ray had been different. Ray had made her feel like a woman again, not a weapon, not a title, not a target. And now Ava wasn't sure which part had been real and which part had been a game. The next morning, she locked herself in her office and demanded a full audit of shareholder activity from the past 6 months. She didn't explain. She didn't breathe. She just read, page after page, file after file, until a name appeared that made her heart crack in half. R.A. Everhart. Silent partner. Majority investor. Acquired controlling interest in Hollis Corp through a blind trust 6 months ago. And she knew it then, not just suspected, knew.
Ray.
Ray Everhart. Ava laughed, a dry, sharp sound that felt like breaking glass. She'd kissed the woman who could destroy her career. She'd bared her soul to the one person in the world who had the legal power to vote her out of the company she built from blood and bone. And she had no one to blame but herself. That night, Ava didn't answer Ray's texts. There were 2 of them. The first said, I'm sorry. The second said, please let me explain. But Ava didn't want explanations. She wanted to forget how Ray had touched her like she was precious. How Ray had said, I see you, and meant it. How she had made Ava believe that maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to be alone anymore. And now it was all a lie. Or was it? That question haunted her more than the betrayal itself. Had it been a setup from the start? Or had Ray really not known who she was that night in the elevator? Ava didn't know which answer would hurt more. On Thursday, Ray came to the building. She bypassed security like she owned the place, because technically, she did. She didn't wear the cap this time. No pretense. No janitor's uniform. Just tailored black slacks, a crisp shirt with the sleeves rolled to her elbows, and a face unreadable as stone. Ava watched her through the glass wall of her office, stomach twisting. Ray didn't knock. She just waited. Ava didn't move. Didn't flinch. But the moment their eyes met, something shifted. Ray's face softened. So did Ava's resolve. She opened the door. 5 minutes, Ava said. That's all you get. Ray stepped inside. She didn't sit. Didn't look around. Her eyes never left Ava's. I didn't know who you were when I pulled you out of that elevator. Ava folded her arms. Convenient. I didn't. I was there for something else. A walkthrough. I saw the alert and came to help. And then you decided to seduce the CEO? I didn't know you were the CEO until the night you kissed me. Ava blinked. What? I looked you up after. I panicked. I wanted to disappear. But I didn't want to lose you. Ava hated how much that hurt. So what, Ray? You kept playing me? I wasn't playing. I was falling, The silence was brutal. Ray took a breath. I didn't invest in Hollis to take you down. I believed in what you built. You were always the legend behind the curtain. I wanted to help you take it further. By lying to me? By not walking away when I realized I cared too much. Ava's hands trembled. You don't get to do this. You don't get to make me feel everything, tear it all down, and then act like the victim. I'm not the victim. I'm in love with you. The words hung in the air like lightning waiting to strike. Ava didn't move. Couldn't breathe. Ray stepped closer. Tell me it meant nothing to you. Look me in the eye and say you felt nothing. And I'll leave. Ava opened her mouth. Closed it. She hated her own silence more than anything. Because the truth was, she couldn't say it. She had felt everything. And that terrified her. Ray's voice cracked. I never lied about how I feel. I might have made mistakes. But I never faked this. Then she was gone. Again. And this time, Ava let her go. Not because she didn't care, but because caring had never felt so much like drowning. That night, Ava stood alone on the rooftop. The same one where Ray had kissed her under the stars. The wind was colder now, the city noisier, and the silence inside her, deafening. Ava's days became noise and static. Her inbox overflowed, her calendar suffocated her, and the board was on edge about new leadership shifts, all symptoms of a company on the brink of becoming unrecognizable. She answered every question, solved every problem, delivered every strategy. And still, none of it mattered. Not since Ray. Ray had touched a part of her Ava had kept hidden so long she forgot it could feel. And now, that part was awake and starving. But Ava had built her world on precision. Control. Walls. Ray had slipped past all of that like sunlight through cracks, and now she was gone. Again. It had been 11 days. Not that Ava was counting. Except she was. She hadn't slept. She hadn't eaten properly. And every time she walked past the rooftop stairwell, her chest ached like a bruise that wouldn't heal. On the 12th day, a delivery arrived at Ava's office. No sender. Just a small, leather-bound notebook. She opened it slowly. Inside were pages filled with Ray's handwriting. Messy, emotional, unfiltered. The first line hit her like a gut punch. If I tell you everything, will you still walk away? Each page after that was a storm. Notes Ray had written, but never sent. Fragments of thoughts from the day they met. Rage, guilt, hope. Stories from Ray's childhood. Doubts. Dreams. Raw honesty. Ava read every word in silence. And then read them again. And then again. By the time she reached the last page, her hands were shaking. The final line was scrawled like Ray had written it in a rush. You said if we ever met again, you'd marry me. I think I still want that. Even if it ruins everything. That night, Ava didn't go home. She drove. No destination. Just movement. Her heart pulled her somewhere she didn't want to admit out loud. Ray had once told her about a cabin 2 hours outside the city. Secluded. Where she went to disappear. Ava had remembered. Even when she pretended not to. She arrived after midnight. No lights. Just trees and silence. She knocked once. No answer. She knocked again. The door opened. Ray stood there barefoot, in an old hoodie and jeans, eyes bloodshot like she hadn't slept either. She didn't look surprised to see Ava. Just tired. Just exposed. Just human. I wasn't sure you'd come, Ray said softly. I wasn't sure I would, Ava replied. They stood there, suspended between apology and ache. Ray stepped aside. Come in. The cabin was dim, warm, cluttered with books and blankets and quiet things. Ava didn't sit. Didn't speak. Just stood by the fire, arms folded like she was holding herself together. You lied to me, she said finally. Ray nodded. I did. You infiltrated my life. My company. My walls. I know. And I hate you for it. Ray looked at her, jaw tight. Okay. Ava's voice cracked. But I hate myself more for needing you anyway. Silence. Long, heavy. Ray stepped closer, cautiously, like Ava might vanish. Then let me fix it. You can't. Then let me try. Ava's mask broke. You don't get to love me in silence, Ray. You don't get to say all the right things in notebooks and then disappear every time it gets hard. I didn't know how to stay, then learn. Ray's breath hitched. I was terrified. So was I. But I didn't run. I never ran from you. I ran from what you mean to me. Ava's voice dropped to a whisper. What do I mean? Ray stepped closer, only inches away now. Everything. Ava blinked, and for the first time in weeks, she let herself break. Let the anger crack into pain. Let the pain fall into longing. Ray cupped her face like it was something fragile. And then they kissed, not hungry, not desperate, but like they were finally letting themselves breathe again. They sank into the couch, arms tangled, hearts thudding. Every touch said, I missed you. I'm sorry. I still want this. When they finally pulled away, Ava rested her forehead against Ray's. This doesn't fix everything. I know. There's still so much you're not telling me. Then ask. Ava hesitated. Why Hollis? Why me? Ray exhaled. Because it wasn't about the company. It never was. I didn't want your empire. I wanted you. But I didn't know how to want both. Ava searched her eyes. And now? Ray held her gaze. Now I want to try. No secrets. No power plays. Just us. Ava didn't respond right away. But her silence wasn't distance this time. It was surrender. Because she wanted that too. Even if it meant risking everything. They stayed in the cabin for 2 days. No phones. No press releases. No board meetings. Just warmth, food cooked badly over a gas stove, and the occasional silence that was no longer terrifying, just sacred. Ray slept like she hadn't slept in months, arms always wrapped around Ava like her body remembered what her mind still feared to claim. Ava let herself feel something like peace, but only in fragments. She had never been good at stillness, and now that the world had paused around her, all her doubts had room to breathe. She watched Ray from the porch one morning, barefoot and half awake, coffee mug in hand, squinting into the woods like she didn't own most of the skyline back in the city. It was beautiful. It was fragile. It wouldn't last. Ava knew the world they'd escaped would come crashing back in. It was just a matter of when. They left the cabin late on Sunday. No words. No promises. Just hands held tight during the drive, as if that alone could stop reality from creeping back in. On Monday, Ava walked into her office like she hadn't been gone. Like she hadn't been in the arms of the woman who technically held the power to destroy her. Her assistant didn't mention her absence. But there were whispers in the hall. The board had met in her absence. There had been votes. Questions.
Movement.
Ray had promised transparency. But the board didn't wait for transparency. They smelled blood, and they were circling. Ava spent the next 3 days putting out fires, negotiating blind. She had no idea where Ray stood now, publicly, politically. And every time she looked at her phone, the silence between them stretched wider. That Wednesday, Ray texted, "Ari, we need to talk. Somewhere neutral. Somewhere quiet." They met at a private lounge in the lower part of the city. Dark walls. Expensive whiskey. The kind of place where secrets were currency and no one asked for receipts. Ava arrived first. Ray walked in 10 minutes later, her expression unreadable. She didn't kiss her. Didn't reach for her hand. She just sat across from her and folded her hands like she was back in a war room. "The board wants to force a vote," Ray said. Ava's spine went rigid. "On what?" "Your position." Silence. "Then, are you pushing it?" Ray looked her dead in the eyes.
No.
"But they think I am. And they'll move with or without me. You owe majority. Which means I can stop them, or let them take you apart." Ava breathed through her nose. "And which one are you going to do?" Ray didn't answer. Not immediately. Her eyes softened, but her voice stayed razor sharp. "That depends on what you want from me, Ava. Because I can protect you from them. But I can't protect you from me." Ava clenched her fists beneath the table. "You think I need protection? I think you need to decide if you're in love with me, Or just in love with the way I made you feel when the world disappeared? That hit too hard. Ava looked away. Ray continued, quieter now. I'm not asking for power. I'm asking for clarity. Because if I fight for you in that room, and you leave me anyway, I lose everything. Ava's throat closed. I don't want to lose you. Then say that. I don't know how. Ray stood. Then learn.
Fast.
Or they'll take it from both of us. She left without waiting for a response. And Ava, once again, was left with silence and too many choices. That night, Ava sat in her office long after everyone had gone home. She thought about her father, the empire he'd tried to build on her back. She thought about every man who told her she was too cold, too sharp, too ambitious to be loved. She thought about Ray, messy, maddening Ray, who had held her like she was worth saving. And then she made a decision. She called a private meeting. No press. No board members. Just Ray. The next morning, Ray entered the room in black, her eyes wary, her guard already half up. Ava didn't wait.
You're right, she said.
About everything. I don't know how to love someone like you. Ray's jaw clenched. Then don't make promises you can't. But I want to. Ray blinked. Ava stepped closer. I want to fight for this.
For you.
I just don't know how to do it without breaking everything I've spent my life building. Then break it. Ava laughed softly. Of course you'd say that. Because it's not love if it only works in secret. Ray took her hand. And for once, Ava didn't pull away. I'll back you in the vote, Ray said. I'll speak for you. You do that for me? No, Ray said, brushing her thumb over Ava's wrist. I do it because I believe in you. The CEO. The woman. All of it. Ava let herself fall forward, forehead resting against Ray's. Then maybe we burn the rulebook together. Ray smiled, small and dangerous. Now that's a merger I can get behind. Ava kissed her, quick, desperate, certain. And in that moment, something inside her shifted. She wasn't afraid of losing control anymore. She was afraid of losing Ray. The boardroom was glass and steel and silence. The kind of silence that usually preceded a corporate massacre. Ava sat at the head of the long table, back straight, expression calm. Every inch of her composed like war paint. Her tailored black suit fit her like armor. Her gaze didn't flicker. But her hands, hidden beneath the table, trembled. Ray hadn't arrived yet. She wasn't late. But Ava's chest wouldn't loosen until she saw her. Every member of the board was present. 12 of them. Old blood, cold ambition, and eyes that had never truly seen her as anything but an anomaly, a woman too powerful for comfort. We're here to vote, said Gerald Lockwell, the acting chairman, voice smug. Effective leadership in light of recent, concerning moves by our current CEO. Ava didn't blink. Define concerning. Your recent disappearances. Your silence during critical restructuring talks. The perception that you're compromised by a personal relationship with our largest investor. That last part hit like a slap, but Ava let it slide off her skin like water. Perception, she said coolly, is not reality. But it is dangerous, another board member added. If our shareholders lose confidence, they'll take their money elsewhere. Then maybe we need shareholders who believe in vision, not gossip. We need stability, Ava. No, came a voice from the doorway. You need truth. Ray entered like a storm in a silk shirt.
Confident. Composed.
Radiating threat with every step. She didn't look at Ava, not yet. She walked straight to the table and pulled out a chair. The room shifted. You could feel it, the discomfort, the recalculations. Miss Everhart, Lockwell said. You were not invited to speak. Then you shouldn't have made this public, Ray said flatly. If you want to vote someone out, at least have the spine to do it without pretending it's about ethics. Ava's pulse kicked hard. She hadn't known Ray would come in like this. Hadn't known she would fight this visibly. This dangerously. You have no right, Lockwell began, but Ray cut him off. I have every right. I own 51% of this company. And I'm casting my vote now. Ava Hollis remains CEO. Effective immediately. No conditions. The silence was absolute. Ava's throat tightened. Ray finally looked at her, and there it was, complete, undeniable loyalty in her eyes. Not just for the company. For her. You can't override the vote, another board member argued, scrambling. We have bylaws. And I've read every line of them, Ray said calmly. I'm not here as a lover. I'm here as a shareholder. Ava stays. You're destroying this company for her. Ray leaned forward, voice low, dangerous.
No.
I'm saving it from people who forgot that risk is the price of vision. Someone tried to challenge the legality. Another tried to pivot to Ava's personal conduct. But it didn't matter. Ray had made herself the shield. And the sword. The room eventually dissolved into formalities, motions, votes, retractions. Ava watched it all in a haze, her heart hammering like it was trying to punch its way out of her chest. She was still CEO. Still in power. But everything had changed. When the meeting ended, the room cleared. Ray didn't move. Ava walked to her slowly. You just burned a lot of bridges for me. I'd do it again. Ava searched her face. You just made enemies out of half this board. Then let them come. This is the part where they try to kill you. Good, Ray said. Let them aim for me. You've had enough knives in your back. Ava almost laughed. Instead, she stepped close and lowered her voice. You didn't have to save me. Yes, Ray said. I did. Because I love you. And I won't apologize for it. Ava felt the words crack something deep inside her. Say it again. Ray's hands cupped her face. I love you. Ava kissed her like it was oxygen. Like it was rebellion. Like she finally stopped caring who watched. When they pulled apart, Ray whispered, Let's build something they can't tear down. Ava smiled. Together. They left the building hand in hand, knowing the war wasn't over. But now, for the first time, they were fighting on the same side. It had only been 3 days since the boardroom war, but everything had shifted. The press was circling like sharks around blood. Anonymous leaks flooded the media. Rumors of misconduct, whisperings about favoritism, board instability, questions about Ray Everhart's ethics and Ava Hollis's leadership. The public didn't care about truth. They wanted spectacle. And they had it now. Ray's name was everywhere. Not just as an investor, but as Ava's lover. The headlines were cruel. Sleeping with power, Hollis Corp scandal in silk. CEO or puppet? Who's really running Hollis now? Ava read them all. She didn't flinch anymore. She was used to being villainized. But Ray wasn't. Ray had spent her life in shadows, in silence, pulling strings and avoiding spotlights. And now the world was tearing her apart. Ava found her in the apartment one night. Lights off, bottle half empty, fingers stained with ink from a letter she never finished. Ray looked up, eyes exhausted. They're calling me a fraud. A predator. You're neither. They think I bought you. They don't know me. Ray scoffed. They don't care. They just want to watch us bleed. Ava sat beside her. Then let them watch. But they'll never see the truth. Which is that I would have burned it all down for you, long before you walked into that elevator. Ray's laugh was bitter. I'm not used to being seen like this. Welcome to my world. Ray turned her face into Ava's shoulder, and for the first time, Ava felt how fragile she really was. The woman who had defied the board, defied the press, who had said, I love you like a declaration of war, she was unraveling under the weight of being visible. They want to break us, Ray whispered. Then we give them nothing to break. But it wasn't that simple. The whispers grew louder. Clients pulled out of deals.
Stock dipped.
Internally, loyalties wavered. Some board members started building coalitions behind the scenes. Ava felt the empire she'd built start to shift beneath her like sand. And worse, she felt Ray pulling back. Slowly, quietly. Ray still touched her, still kissed her, still curled around her in the night. But something in her eyes had changed. Not love, but fear. One night, Ava woke to find the bed empty. She found Ray on the balcony, barefoot, arms crossed, looking out over the city like she was already gone. Tell me you're not planning to disappear, Ava said. Ray didn't turn around. I'm not good at being the reason someone loses everything. You're not the reason. Ava. Ray's voice cracked. You're bleeding for me. I can't keep watching that. Ava stepped forward, fury and panic in her voice. Don't you dare start protecting me. Don't you dare decide for me what I can survive. I don't know how to be loved like this. Then learn. A long silence. Then Ray finally turned. What if this ends us? Ava stared at her. Then at least we went down together. Ray stepped forward, but this time it wasn't a kiss. It was a slow, desperate embrace. Her forehead against Ava's neck. Her body trembling. I love you so much it hurts, Ray whispered. Then stop trying to survive me. Choose me. I do. Every day. That's what terrifies me. Ava held her tighter. Then let's be terrified together. The next morning, Ray released a statement to the press. A direct message. No PR filter. No corporate polish. Just her voice. She admitted everything. Her role, her relationship, her vote. But she framed it as what it was. An act of trust, not manipulation. It was bold.
Honest.
And dangerous. The fallout was immediate. Some applauded her transparency. Others called for Ava's resignation again.
But there was something new now. Respect.
The kind that comes when someone stops pretending. Ray had stepped out of the shadows for Ava.
And Ava?
Ava held the line. The company bent.
But didn't break.
At least not yet. Late that night, as they lay tangled in silence, Ava whispered into Ray's shoulder. Power is the most fragile kind of love. Ray didn't answer. She just held her tighter. Because she knew it too. And they were both holding something that could shatter if either one let go. 3 weeks passed. The world didn't calm down, but Ava and Ray learned how to breathe in its chaos. The initial storm of the scandal lost its novelty. News stories took its place. Politicians, celebrity divorces, an oil spill. Ray's public statement had shifted the narrative, not ended it, but changed the tone. She had looked the world in the eye and said, yes, I love her. No, I won't apologize. And people respected that, even the ones who still didn't like it. But respect didn't equal forgiveness. And it definitely didn't equal safety. Inside Hollis Corp, the wounds still bled behind closed doors. Some clients refused to come back. Some internal partners treated Ava like a ticking bomb, smiling to her face, moving against her in quiet corners. And though Ray had promised to fight beside her, there were moments Ava caught her slipping into old habits again, disappearing into silence, vanishing into work, avoiding touch like it burned. It wasn't rejection. It was fear. And Ava understood that better than anyone. One night, she found Ray still in her office at 3 a.m., eyes red from staring at numbers and damage control reports. Ray didn't even look up when Ava walked in. If you're here to convince me we're still winning, Ray muttered, save your breath. Ava didn't say anything. She simply walked over, shut Ray's laptop, and pulled her into her arms. Ray resisted for half a second, then broke. Her body melted into Ava's, and her hands clung to the back of her shirt like she was afraid Ava would dissolve. I don't know how to fix this, Ray whispered. Then stop trying to fix it. Just stay. Ray pulled back, searched her face. You still trust me? Ava's eyes didn't flinch. With everything. The next morning, Ray didn't go to work. She didn't disappear either. She sent Ava one text. There's something I want to show you. Ava found her waiting outside a building downtown, rundown, forgotten, but familiar. It had once been a homeless shelter. Ray's mother used to work there before she died. Ava remembered Ray mentioning it once, back when they were still trading truths on rooftops. Inside, Ray showed her plans. Blueprints. Investment drafts. Architects already on hold. I'm buying this place back, Ray said. Not through Hollis. Not with shareholder money. With mine. I want to rebuild it. I want something in this city that doesn't exist just to make someone rich. Ava stared at her. Why now? Because I've spent my entire life making things that profit from fear. I want to build something that exists out of love. Ava stepped forward. And you want me to help? No, Ray said, voice soft. I want you to believe I'm not just the woman who nearly ruined you. Ava reached out, took her hand. You never ruined me. You reminded me what I was building for. That night, they went back to Ray's apartment, though it already felt like theirs. The lights were low, the city humming below them. Ava stood in front of the mirror, removing her earrings one by one, when Ray came up behind her and kissed her shoulder like it was sacred. I thought I lost you, Ray whispered. Ava turned slowly. You didn't. You almost did. And I'm still here. Ray's hands found her waist. If this fails, this company, this us, I want it to be because we tried. Not because we were afraid to. Ava nodded, her voice thick. Then let's try harder. And they did. For the next 2 weeks, they fought together, strategized together, walked into meetings as a united front. They didn't hide. They didn't flinch. And slowly something began to shift. The company started stabilizing. Partnerships reopened. A major client, one Ava had long believed lost, signed back on after a private call from Ray. She said the way you look at me convinced her the company still had a soul, Ray admitted with a soft smile. I told her you were the one with the soul, Ava replied. But even as things recovered, Ava could feel the tension under the surface. Not between them, but around them. The board wasn't done. Not truly. They had been silenced, not defeated. Ava received an anonymous tip. A leak was being prepared. Something big. Something old. Her past. They're digging, she told Ray. Then let them dig. You don't understand. There's something in there. Ray stepped closer.
Ava.
Whatever it is, you tell me now. I'd rather face it beside you than read it in a headline. Ava swallowed. Her voice barely a whisper. When I first took control of Hollis, I made a deal I've never spoken about. Illegal. Risky. I saved the company, but if it comes out, I lose everything. Ray didn't move. Didn't blink. Then we face it. Ray, no more secrets. No more shields. It could take you down too. Ray stepped forward. Then we fall together. And just like that, Ava realized that the only thing more dangerous than power was trusting someone enough to share it. The leak dropped on a Thursday morning. No warning. No chance to get ahead of it. 1 second Ava was sipping her coffee, staring out the panoramic window of her office. The next her phone was vibrating nonstop. Emails. Alerts. Texts. A headline blinked on her screen like a knife against her throat. Hollis Corp built on fraud? CEO Ava Hollis accused of financial misconduct in early years. It was real. The deal she'd buried, the one she never thought would resurface. It was out. The article was surgical. Precise. It detailed how, in her first year of leadership, Ava had made a secret off-the-books arrangement with a now-defunct international supplier to keep Hollis afloat during the 2009 crash. Technically illegal. Morally gray. A desperate move. And a mistake. Ava stood in the center of her office, heart pounding, while outside, the entire building seemed to hold its breath.
She didn't panic.
Not visibly. She just picked up her phone, called Ray, and said, "They know." Ray didn't ask what. She simply said, "I'm coming." By the time Ray arrived, the vultures had landed. The board had called an emergency meeting. Press vans lined the street outside the building. Hollis Corp's legal department was scrambling. Ava stepped into the boardroom like a soldier heading for the front lines. And Ray walked beside her. No hesitation. No distance. Just presence. The board members were livid. Gerald Lockwell slammed his file onto the table. You lied to us. You covered up a criminal act. You put this entire company at risk. Ava didn't defend herself. She looked each one of them in the eye and said, "Yes, I did."
Gasps.
Outrage. I did what I had to do to save this company. At 28, I was handed a sinking ship with no lifeboats. I made a choice. I didn't do it for greed. I did it because I believed in what Hollis could become. And because of that choice, we survived. That's not the point, another board member snapped. You committed fraud. I took a risk, and I've carried the weight of that risk every day since. But don't stand there and pretend you haven't profited from it. You all did. You could be indicted. Ava didn't flinch. Then I'll face it. But I won't let this company fall just because I didn't get to play the game the way you wanted me to. Someone said they should call a vote of no confidence. Ray finally stood. Her voice was quiet. Lethal. If you vote her out now, you're not just removing a CEO. You're killing the future of this company. The world doesn't need perfect leaders. It needs honest ones. You want to bury her?
Fine.
But you bury me with her. Because I'm not going anywhere. Silence. And then Lockwell said, "You love her. That clouds your judgment." Ray smiled, cold and clear.
No.
That sharpens it. The vote didn't happen.
Not that day.
The board recessed in chaos. The legal team started damage control. And Ava walked out of the building with Ray's hand in hers, the world watching, the future dangling by a single thread. That night, Ava didn't go home. She couldn't. The weight of it all settled on her chest like iron. She stood on Ray's balcony, eyes on the skyline, voice hollow. It's all going to fall. Ray stood behind her, arms circling her waist. Then we rebuild it, brick by brick. This time with the truth. I don't deserve you. You deserve a chance to be forgiven. Even by yourself. Ava turned, eyes glossy. What if I don't survive this? Then we fall together. We've already said that. But I thought I could carry it all. That if I just worked hard enough, buried deep enough, I could keep it clean. Ray touched her face. What you buried still bleeds. Let it bleed. Let it hurt. But don't hide from it anymore. Ava closed her eyes. I'm so tired. Then rest. I'll carry it for a while. She let Ray hold her, and for the first time, she didn't resist the comfort. She didn't push it away. She let herself break. And Ray held every shard. The next day, Ava went public. She stood in front of the press. Told the truth. No spin. No denial. She confessed the deal. Explained the context. Took full responsibility. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she said. I'm asking for accountability. For myself. And for every person who's ever had to choose survival over protocol. The backlash was loud. But the support was louder. Employees spoke up. Old partners defended her. Clients who had walked away returned with cautious, but open hands. Ava Hollis had told the truth. And in doing so, she proved she wasn't just a CEO. She was human. And more than anything, she was still standing. That night, as the company held its breath and the world waited for the dust to settle, Ava walked into Ray's arms and whispered, "I'm still here." And Ray said, "I always knew you would be." Ava had never been a symbol before. She had been power, precision, fear, but not hope, not vulnerability. And now that the world had seen her cracks, some wanted to destroy her completely, while others wanted to lift her higher than ever. That duality was dizzying. The board didn't try to remove her again. They couldn't. Not after the public rallied behind her post-confession. Not after the numbers studied and the shareholders, ironically, saw that the transparency had actually improved trust in Hollis. But power doesn't forget humiliation. Especially when delivered by two women in love. Ava felt it in every meeting now. In the side glances. In the carefully veiled tones. They didn't challenge her authority, not directly. But they resented her survival. And they resented Ray even more. The whispers shifted focus. Now it wasn't about Ava's mistakes. It was about Ray's presence. Too involved. Too powerful. Too close to the crown. Ava knew the language of coups. This wasn't about scandal anymore. This was about territory. One morning, Ava arrived to find her name omitted from an internal memorandum she should have authored. A pitch she greenlit rerouted through another executive. A meeting rescheduled 3 times without notice. Subtle moves. Dangerous ones. She brought it to Ray, who sat across from her at the kitchen table. Fingers laced, quiet. "They're isolating me," Ava said. "They're trying to prove I've lost control." Ray didn't look surprised. "They can't win outright, so they're going to make it so painful that you'll resign yourself. And it's working. Then fire them." Ava blinked. Excuse me? Fire the ones still playing both sides. Clean house. Ava shook her head. That's a PR nightmare. So, is being pushed out of your own empire one silent vote at a time? Ava exhaled, rubbed her temples. You make it sound simple. It is. Brutal, but simple. She looked up at Ray, really looked. You're used to fighting dirty. I'm used to surviving. And I'm tired of surviving. Ray reached across the table, took her hand. Then let's build, Ava. Not just survive. Let's build something that's actually ours. It was the first time Ray had said it like that.
Ours.
Not just the company, the life, the future. But Ava's mind couldn't stop spinning. You'd really go through that kind of war with me? I already am. And what if I can't win? Then we make losing beautiful. Ava stood, pacing. You've sacrificed so much for me already. Your reputation, your privacy. You gave up the peace you lived in. I gave that up the night I pulled you out of the elevator. Ava froze. Their eyes locked. You still remember that night? I replay it more than I should. You were a stranger. You were everything. The words didn't break Ava. They steadied her. She walked over, touched Ray's jaw, and kissed her like it might be the last time. Then let's end this on our terms. That same day, Ava called an emergency executive meeting. Not with the board. Just the senior leadership team. She didn't wear black. She didn't bring legal counsel. She wore white.
Clean. Calm.
And she told the truth. Again. Some of you have stopped believing in me. Some of you are playing a waiting game. But here's the thing. I'm not leaving. I built this place. Not for control. For vision. And I won't let it be strangled by fear. So if you want out, I'll buy you out. No shame. No lawsuits. You walk. Today. Silence. Then one by one, four executives stood. Walked out. Doors closed behind them like final chapters. And Ava remained. Unshaken. The next few days were brutal. Rebuilding the leadership team. Dealing with leaks again. Reassuring clients.
But something in her changed.
She stopped bracing for collapse. And started choosing who she wanted to be. That weekend, Ray took her out of the city. Just 2 hours away. A hidden lake house Ray had owned for years and never shown anyone. I bought it after my mother died, Ray admitted. It was supposed to be a place to hide. You never hide, Ava said. I do, but not from you. They stayed 2 nights. No phones. No emails. Just skin. Firelight. Real laughter. And a kind of silence that healed instead of haunting. On the last night, Ava sat with her legs over Ray's lap, wine glass in hand, voice low. Do you ever wonder what this would have been if we met differently? I used to. And now? Ray smiled. Now I think it was always going to be you. Elevator or boardroom or battlefield. Ava stared at her. I love you. It wasn't the first time she'd said it, but it was the first time she didn't say it like a risk. She said it like a vow. Ray kissed her hand. Then let's give them something they can't touch. Like what? Like a future. But even as they held each other close in that sanctuary of borrowed peace, neither of them said what they both knew deep down, that peace never lasts long when you build it on power. Monday came like a blade to the throat. No softness. No warning. Just impact. Ava arrived at Hollis Tower to a scene she hadn't expected, armed security at the entrance to the executive floor. New uniforms. Not her usual team. Her badge didn't scan. Her name had been removed from the system. Her face, once a symbol of everything the company stood for, was now just a problem to be kept out. She didn't flinch, didn't panic. She simply turned, walked back to the car, and dialed one number. They made their move, she said. Ray's voice on the other end was low and steady. I'm already there. 10 minutes later, Ray sent a location, a rooftop bar downtown, overlooking the city they had both carved open with their ambition. Ava arrived to find Ray waiting with 2 tablets, 1 contract, and an expression like stone. They called an emergency vote last night, Ray said without preamble. They knew we were out of town, knew you wouldn't be able to stop it. They locked me out of my own company. They're trying to take everything before the annual report drops because they know the numbers are finally swinging in your favor. Who let it? A pause. Ray's jaw tightened. Luckwell. And don't say it. Ray nodded grimly. Your former assistant CFO. The one you mentored. Ava closed her eyes. For a second, it wasn't just betrayal. It was intimacy turned poison. They think they've won, Ray continued. But they made one mistake. Which is, I still hold the final vote. They filed the vote of removal, but without majority shareholder approval, it doesn't stick unless I ratify it. Ava blinked. You can still block it?
Yes.
But if I do, they'll retaliate. Lawsuits. Public smear campaigns. They'll take the company down just to ruin us. And if you don't, Ray looked away. They'll oust you. Quietly. No scandal. Just erasure. Ava stared at her. And what happens to you? I'll stay. As the one who let it happen. The one who didn't fight for you. The silence between them pulsed with everything they hadn't said in months. Everything they'd buried under survival. Ava reached across the table, took Ray's hand. So we're here. We're here. If you block them, you risk everything you've built. You make yourself the target. You already are. No, Ava whispered. You've shielded me enough. Let me fall alone this time. Ray's eyes burned.
No.
If we burn, then let it be together. She slid one of the tablets toward Ava. There's another option. Ava read the document.
Blinked.
You want to dissolve the board? Yes. You want to go nuclear?
No.
I want to reset the entire game. Fire every last one of them. Rebuild Hollis as a private company, under us. I've already arranged the capital. That's dangerous. So, was falling in love with you. Ava looked up. If we do this, there's no turning back. If we don't, they win. And worse, you disappear. Your name wiped from the thing you built. Is that the legacy you want? Ava closed her eyes. The weight of it all. The legacy, the ambition, the fear, the love, pressed down like iron. We do it together. Your name on every page. Not just mine. Done. They both signed. Not with ceremony. Not with hesitation. Just resolve. And when the digital ink dried, the war had officially begun. In the next 48 hours, Ray unleashed hell. A full audit of the board's finances was made public. Private investigations into conflicts of interest surfaced. Shareholder alliances were reshaped. Executives who thought they were untouchable found themselves exposed.
And Ava?
She held the line. She gave speeches. She stood on stages. She reminded the world who she was, not as a survivor, but as a woman who refused to be erased. The media roared. The internet split. Some called it a power grab. Others called it revolution. Ray stayed 2 steps ahead of the chaos, feeding Ava the right names, the right data, the right moments to strike.
It was war, yes.
But it was also the most intimate act of love either of them had ever known. To fight for something together. To burn down the house and build it again, brick by brick, scar by scar. And when the final board member resigned in disgrace, Ray didn't celebrate. She just looked at Ava across the city skyline and said, "You're still here." And Ava, with tears in her eyes and steel in her voice, said, "So are you." That night, they stood in the middle of Ava's office, no longer locked out, no longer afraid. Ray kissed her there, against the glass, with the city watching like a witness. "Do you know," Ray whispered, "how many times I imagined this moment?" Ava smiled. "Then let's make sure it lasts."
How?
Ava turned to her, eyes glowing. By letting the world see what it looks like when 2 women don't just survive, they win. Spring came slowly. Not in flowers, but in silence. In the quiet after war. In rooms that no longer echoed with threats, only plans. The chaos faded, but the change remained. Hollis Corp was theirs now, rebuilt, rebranded, reborn. The press called it the most ruthless corporate cleansing in recent memory. The internet called it Sapphic domination. Ava didn't care what they called it. She had Ray. She had control. She had peace. But more than all that, she had truth. For the first time in her life, she wasn't performing. Not for her father's ghost. Not for boardroom vultures. Not for anyone. Ray had stripped her of everything that wasn't real, and what remained was terrifying and beautiful. Their days found rhythm. Ava ran the company. Ray shaped the vision. They worked in sync, two minds with matching ambition and different wounds. They still fought, still clashed, still challenged each other in every way that mattered. But now, the tension was fertile. It grew things. And their nights? Their nights were church. All skin and whispers and fingers tangled in silk sheets. It wasn't escape anymore. It was home. Then, one evening, after a long day filled with clients and contracts and one very annoyed government official, Ray stood in the middle of Ava's office as the sun dropped behind the skyline. She was wearing black. Always black. Her sleeves rolled. Her jaw sharp. And her eyes softer than Ava had ever seen. "You remember the elevator?" Ray asked quietly. Ava looked up from her desk, lips curving. "You mean the one I was trapped in before the janitor, who wasn't a janitor, pulled me out and wrecked my entire life?" Ray smiled.
Yeah.
"That one. What about it? You said something to me that night. Something you probably don't remember." Ava stood slowly. "I remember everything." Ray stepped closer. "Say it again." Ava blinked. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "If we meet again, I'll marry you." "We met again." Ray's voice cracked, just slightly. "Over and over. Through fire. Through scandal. Through everything." Ava reached up, touched her cheek. "And I'd say yes every time." Ray pulled a small black box from her pocket. No flourish. No kneeling. No speech. Just an offering. "Then marry me where the world can hear it." Ava's breath caught. Inside the box was a ring like nothing else, industrial and elegant, with a twist of dark steel and white gold, shaped like something salvaged from a storm. "You designed this?" A nod. "Every part of it. It's sharp. So are you. It's heavy. So, is this love?" Ava looked up, and her eyes were wet. "Yes." Just that. No performance. No spectacle. Just a woman who had spent her whole life running from being known, and was now ready to be seen. The wedding was 3 months later. Not in a cathedral. Not in a mansion. But on the rooftop of Hollis Tower, the place where Ray had first kissed her in the dark and whispered, "Try me." The world was watching. Cameras. Journalists. Investors. Employees. Enemies. All of them. But Ava didn't care. She wore white again. Ray wore black again. Their vows were short. Honest.
Messy.
Ray said, "I'll never be easy. But I'll always be real." Ava said, "I don't need easy. I just need you." The kiss was long.
Bold.
A declaration. The city roared below them. Flashbulbs. Applause. But the loudest sound was the silence inside their kiss. The silence that said, "We made it." That night, as they lay in bed with the moonlight pouring over their hands, wedding rings warm against skin, Ray whispered, "You're still the only thing I've ever wanted that scared me." Ava smiled against her neck.
Good.
"Because I plan to keep terrifying you. Promise. Forever." Outside, the city moved on. Corporations shifted. Power changed hands. The world forgot the scandal, the drama, the politics. But some things remained. In Hollis Tower, 2 women sat at the helm of an empire built not just on ambition, but on love that refused to die. They weren't perfect, but they were real. And every time Ray walked into Ava's office, Ava looked up like it was the first time. Every time Ava pulled Ray close at night, Ray held her like a vow. And sometimes, when the city was quiet and the skyline burned gold, Ray would lean over and say, "You know, I married the janitor." And Ava would reply, "And I married the woman who owned the building the whole damn time." And they would laugh. And they would kiss. And they would begin again. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $sign icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you.